our top story tonight, people took advantage of a program designed to help seniors and those with disabilities find housing and made out with millions of tax dollars.
Minnesota, we've had a record amount of fraud in Minnesota, and quite frankly, I think Minnesotans are just getting sick of it. The federal government unearthing a lot of this fraud. That's where the enforcement has been coming from lately, but the state needs to take an active role in preventing fraud as well. And quite frankly, the Department of Human Services just isn't getting it done.
Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services program launched in 2020 with a simple mission: keep vulnerable people housed, seniors with dementia, disabled adults who couldn't navigate rental applications, people one missed payment away from homelessness. The state paid companies to help these people find apartments, negotiate with landlords, and stay off the streets. The program was supposed to cost $2.6 million annually, a modest safety net for the state's most vulnerable. By 2024, it was burning through over $100 million per year. Nobody at the state questioned why costs exploded by 4,000%. 4 companies dominated the program: Brilliant Mind Services, Leo Human Services, Liberty Plus, Fraudulent. Between 2021 and 2024, they billed Minnesota for millions in services: case management, housing searches, tenant advocacy. On paper, they were helping thousands of disabled Minnesotans. In reality, they were doing almost nothing. By summer 2024, state auditors noticed something wrong. Claims didn't match reality. Services billed but never provided. In August, the state froze payments while they investigated. That's when vulnerable people started getting eviction notices. The fraud wasn't just stealing money, it was destroying lives. And the people behind it, they had names, they had faces, they had a system.
Very scary, very stressed out.
There's no transitional plan. There's no explanation as to what happens next.
Well, I mean, they didn't do nothing for me.
They really didn't do much of anything.
Right. And it doesn't seem like they're worried about it. You know, it's just like, okay, here's your notice. You got 60 days, bye. See ya.
100% scam.
Here's how they pulled it off. Minnesota's Housing Stabilization Services ran through Medicaid. Companies could bill up to $180 per hour for case management. The state required minimal documentation, a few notes, some timestamps, that's it. No home visits required, no verification calls, no quality checks. It was an honor system worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The 4 companies created fake client interactions. They billed for services that never happened. A case manager claims they spent 8 hours helping a disabled client find housing. In reality, they never met. They billed for phone calls that were never made, home visits that never occurred, advocacy meetings that were pure fiction. One company billed for helping a client who had been dead for 6 months. The state paid every invoice. But here's where it gets darker. The fraudsters needed real names, real Medicaid numbers, real people to bill under, so they went hunting at addiction treatment centers. They'd approach vulnerable people in recovery, people desperate for housing help, people who'd sign anything. "We'll help you find an apartment," they'd say. "Just sign here." Those signatures became blank checks. The fraudsters would bill for months of services, sometimes years. Meanwhile, the actual clients, many were already in stable housing, some had moved out of state, others had relapsed and disappeared. It didn't matter, the bills kept coming, the state kept paying. Let's talk numbers. Brilliant Mind Services LLC, run by Mokhtar Hassan Aden and 3 others, billed $2.3 million in fraudulent claims. Fraudulent LLC, operated by Emmanuel Falad and Dr. Christopher Falad, stole $2.2 million. Leo Human Services and Liberty Plus LLC, controlled by brothers Asad and Anwar Adow, combined for $3.7 million in fraud. But here's the thing. Federal prosecutors say this is just what they've proven so far. The actual total? Over $100 million across the entire program. 8 defendants, $8 million in proven fraud. But the scheme was industry-wide. This wasn't Minnesota's first rodeo. In 2022, the Feeding Our Future scandal exposed $250 million in fake meal programs for children. Fraudsters claimed they were feeding thousands of kids. Instead, they bought luxury cars and real estate. Then came autism services fraud. The EIDBI program lost another $30 million to fake therapy claims. Now, disability housing. Over $100 million gone. 3 scandals, 3 different programs. Same playbook, minimal oversight, honor-based billing, and fraudsters who knew the system's weaknesses. The pattern was so obvious that Congressman Brad Finstad demanded a federal investigation into Minnesota's Department of Human Services. His question was simple: how does a state receiving $20.1 billion in federal funding have such weak safeguards?
It's happening in Minnesota. The land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes. But this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off. And now I'm understanding, and you're going to look into that, Scott. I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country is no good for a reason.
Federal prosecutors traced it to luxury vehicles, real estate purchases, cash withdrawals. One defendant bought a $400,000 home in cash. Another leased 3 high-end cars simultaneously. Bank records showed wire transfers to family members overseas, purchases of investment properties, lavish vacations. While disabled Minnesotans faced eviction, the fraudsters were living large. Anwar Adow, one of the brothers behind Liberty Plus, allegedly orchestrated over $20 million in fraudulent claims personally. His brother Asad ran Leo Human Services with the same scheme. The Falad brothers at Falad Care split their operation between Minnesota and other states, multiplying their fraud across jurisdictions, and they thought they'd never get caught. Summer 2024, state auditors flagged suspicious billing patterns to federal prosecutors. The FBI launched a joint investigation with the Department of Health and Human Services. They subpoenaed records, interviewed clients, tracked the money. They found clients who'd never heard of the companies billing under their names. They found case managers who didn't exist. They found billing records for services on dates when the supposed providers were out of the country. What they found was systematic fraud across multiple companies, all using the same playbook. On September 18, 2024, they struck. 8 individuals charged with conspiracy to commit healthcare fraud: Mokhtar Hassan Aden, Mustafa Dayeb Ali, Khalid Ahmed Dayeb, Abdifita Mohammed, all from Brilliant Mind Services, Asad Ahmed Adow from Leo Human Services, Anwar Ahmed Adow from Liberty Plus, Emmanuel Falad, and Dr. Christopher Falad from Falad Care. Each charge carried up to 10 years in federal prison. The lead defendant, Anwar Adow. Prosecutors alleged he personally orchestrated over $20 million in fraudulent claims. November 2024, Anwar Adow became the first to plead guilty. He stood in federal court and admitted everything, submitting false claims, billing for services never provided, enriching himself while vulnerable people suffered. His sentencing is scheduled for early 2025. He faces up to 10 years. The other 7 defendants still fighting the charges, still claiming innocence, but the evidence is overwhelming. Bank records, billing documents, client interviews. Federal prosecutors have them cold.
All new tonight, in an unprecedented move, the state of Minnesota is shutting down the Housing Stabilization Services program, which is now tied to millions in suspected fraud.
And tonight, providers in that program are telling us there were warning signs, and their big concern is people could be put out on the street.
Minnesota shut down the entire Housing Stabilization Services program at the end of October 2024. Not just the 4 fraudulent companies, the entire program terminated. Thousands of legitimate clients lost access to services because of these 8 people. Case managers who were actually helping people, out of work. Disabled Minnesotans who relied on the program, left scrambling. The state is now rebuilding from scratch with stricter oversight, mandatory home visits, random audits, real accountability, but the damage is done. Over $100 million gone, lives disrupted, trust shattered, and this is just one program. Add Feeding Our Futures $250 million, add Autism Services $30 million. Minnesota has lost over $380 million to fraud in social services programs in just 3 years. The common thread: federal money flowing through state programs with minimal oversight, honor systems that assumed good faith, billing processes designed for speed, not accuracy, and fraudsters who studied the weaknesses and exploited them perfectly. This is what happens when honor systems meet greed, when minimal oversight creates maximum opportunity, when the people meant to protect the vulnerable become the predators. Minnesota's disability housing fraud is just the latest chapter in a much bigger story. A story about how $20.1 billion in federal funding flows through a state with broken safeguards. A story about how 8 people can steal $100 million before anyone notices. A story about how the most vulnerable Americans pay the price when systems fail. And based on the pattern, it won't be the last.